The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Thursday, the 18th day of July 2024. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy. I'm Jamel Hartman. Maya Palacio will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in the news break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Happy Thursday, everyone. One more day to the end of the traditional work week. Another day closer to St. George's taking back our cup to its rightful home. Yes. Can I get some? Yep. You'll be hearing a lot of that after there's sixes and fours that my St. George's team are about to slap at the end of, well, I was going to say at the end of this month, but it won't be the end of this month. It would be the beginning of August. But where my St. George's fans at, man? You know, traditionally, you all haven't represented. We haven't come out and represented on this show in recent times. So where you all at? Let's have it. Let's have it. St. George's fans only, by the way. We don't really care about the other ones. Awesome Thursday to you as well, Suzanne Ingham. She says, awesome Thursday, Jamal. Yeah, St. George's fans, show up. Let us know that you exist. I mean, look, let me tell you why I stopped trash talking about Cup Match. Let me tell you why I stopped trash talking. Because I realized St. George's fans was scared. Like you all like had no faith. Like that's why the team doesn't go out well, because they don't feel you behind them. You know, some fans blab, 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 blab. You know, they don't shut up. And so their team goes out. Yeah, people got our back, and they just do their thing. So St. George's fans, we need some we need some get some hunger in you. I can't be out on the streets alone fighting by myself against these crazy people. I mean, think about it. Who wears red and blue in the summer? It's Christmas colors. Those are Christmas colors. Anyway, big up St. George's fans only this morning. Karen Simmons says, good morning, TDH, from Falmouth, Nova Scotia. Go St. George's. Well, it's summertime, so I hope you're warm up in Nova Scotia. That's in Canada up there, folks. Or Canada, as you say. Morning to you, brother Mark Arthur C. Phillips. He says, bless up, Jamel. Big up yourself, Mark. And Angeline Butler showing her St. George's colors. Suzanne Ingham showing her St. George's colors. I like how people follow rules, because usually if I say something about St. George's, those rude Somerset fans will show up with their colors and just ruin the moment. But I love Cup Match time. I love the banter. Somerset fans, I didn't know any of you when I was young, when you couldn't take the cup off us. And I know you say, oh, well, you play it for a draw every year. At the end of the day, it's your job to win it, just like it's St. George's job to win it now. So, yeah. Tanya Cheeseman, another St. George's fan. Yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about. We scared the Somerset fans now. They don't even want to show up. They don't even want to show up. Anyway, greetings, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today, as we welcome the Honorable Marc Bean on to discuss the Free Democratic Movement's education policy. They did release their education policy a couple of days ago, and people online had quite a bit to say. So the Honorable Marc Bean is here himself to actually discuss that with us. So looking forward to that conversation. The Daily Play is a name that plays. So as you can see, I don't have a co-host today. So someone out there will win and become eligible to win this week's prize. Don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. I just want to make an announcement. I know Twitter, or X as it's called now, was one of the probably our most valued place in terms of viewership. We had probably more viewers on Twitter than any other platform. However, brother Elon Musk decided to start charging to stream on Twitter on Saturday. This is just me being transparent. I have not been given the go-ahead by our accounting department to continue to stream on Twitter, which comes with a cost. So for anyone who knows someone who used to watch the Daily Hour on Twitter, let them know that they either have to go on the website, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube for live engagement as of right now. All right. So apologies to those over on X, Twitter, whatever you choose to call it. But brother Musk, done us in. All right. Let's jump into today's conversation because this is an interesting one. I'm just going to tell you the question right now. What are your thoughts on the government slashing energy prices in response to the Belco hike? What are your thoughts on the government slashing energy taxes in response to the Belco hike? Now, I'm going to tell you actually, let's go to our friends at the Royal Gazette so you know what I'm talking about. So the Royal Gazette story titled, government to slash energy taxes in face of Belco price hike. So the story goes on to say the government has moved swiftly to help customers affected by this week's announced hike in electricity prices. In a statement last night, David Burt, the Premier Minister of Finance, said in it, quote, a significant reduction in energy taxes, end quote, will be introduced, which in turn will scale back an increase in electricity bills. Belco said yesterday that after a lengthy collaborative evaluation process with the regulatory authority of Bermuda, energy rates will rise for all meters read on or after August 1st. A company spokesperson added that the increase would see bills of average household users rise by $27 per month, although high-end users whose consumption is about 1,500 kilowatts per meter reading cycle could expect to see their monthly bills increase by $86. The price hike was condemned by the government and the opposition, as well as charities. Okay, let me ask you this question right off. Do you think the government will increase taxes elsewhere to make up for the energy tax loss? Yes or no? Because, as I read on in this article, the Premier said, providing details of the tax reduction, right? The Premier says, the country's improved economic performance has given the government the ability to reduce taxes further. I'm not going to say the Premier is lying because I don't have any facts in front of me. But where can I find, help me out, audience, because I don't listen to the House of Assembly. That stuff gives me headaches. But where can I find the evidence of the country's improved economic performance that has given the government the ability to reduce taxes further? Where can I find that? Where can we find that? Help me out. Because you want to give credit to the government for doing this. But here's some confusing things. And maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist. But you have a sitting member of parliament who is the president of the parent company of Belco. You have a member of parliament who is an employee of many years of Belco, right? In election season, which I think we are in, maybe I'm just a conspiracy theorist. Maybe I just, I'm one of those crazy people who just doesn't believe anything. But this just seems like, oh, go ahead, do what you do, Belco, and then let us come out and play hero. Am I the only one that feels like that? That's one theory. Second theory is, well, look, after we play hero, we'll just come out and say, okay, we'll reduce the taxes, energy taxes on Belco. But what we don't hear when they do stuff like that is where they're going to make it up. Because a government, especially one that's in as much debt as the Bermuda government, is like a casino. The house always wins. Anyway, enough of me. What are your thoughts, audience? What are your thoughts on the government slashing energy taxes in response to the Belco hike? And yes or no? Do you think the government will increase taxes elsewhere to make up for the energy tax loss? Let's go to the audience. Derek Hendrickson says political gymnastics. That's exactly what it seems like to me, bro. That's exactly what it seems like to me. Mark Arthur C. Phillips says, yes, he does think that the government will make this up elsewhere. He does believe the government will make this up elsewhere. Suzanne Ingham says the Belco increase should never gotten this far. Seriously, is the government wanting to look like heroes again? They should never have allowed it to get this far. It absolutely seems like a hero thing. Yes, remember that, folks. That what they call it, the even budget, the balanced budget. That's what they're going for. Yeah. Larry Marshall says they can reduce taxes in other areas too. Well, see, Larry makes a great point. If they can reduce the energy taxes, what about those other taxes in other spaces that are impacting people? You know, he said it. Look, play on the premier's words, folks. The premier said the country's improved economic performance has given the government the ability to reduce taxes further. So the question should be, when your MPs come on your doorstep or when you go on your MP's doorstep, you can literally say, well, the premier said that the country's economic conditions, right, and performance, the improved economic performance has given the government the ability to reduce taxes further. So tell them what taxes you'd like to see. See, use their words against them, folks. Use their words against them. Folks, if you're on Facebook, make sure you share this conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Instagram, share it. Make sure you give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. What else, audience? What else? Teresa Marie says, spot on. Folks, honestly, come on. This One thing I will give David Burke, the premier of Bermuda, credit for. He is one of the best at politics in Bermuda. Now, that could be a positive and a negative. It's positive for his political party, but I don't know if it's positive for the Bermudian people. Here's the thing, though. You don't have to be Einstein. You don't have to be an intellectual. You don't have to be the most intelligent to see through this kind of stuff. You don't. Again, audience, what are your thoughts on the government slashing energy taxes in response to the Belco hike? And do you think the government will increase taxes elsewhere to make up the lost energy tax? Oh, that question's asked wrong. Do you think that the government will increase taxes elsewhere to make up for the energy tax loss? Do you think the government will increase elsewhere? All right, let's get back to the audience. Charles A. Shuffles II says, now that we're in the second quarter of the fiscal year, can we get a report on revenue and expenses from the first quarter? This is what shareholders of a company would expect. Well, yeah, the first quarter ended back in April, May, June. Yeah, June 30th. Yeah, of the fiscal year, sorry. Fiscal, not calendar, folks. So yeah, maybe it's too soon, Charles. Maybe in only 2 weeks, right? It's only 2 weeks. Let's give them another week. Hopefully before clock match. Suzanne Ingham says, just spit it out, Jamal. No, you are the only one thinking that. I am? Yup, taxes will be added elsewhere. You got it, Jay. Asmal. I think she meant Jamal. Maurice Foley says, bingo. Bingo. Suzanne Ingham said, yes. Larry Marsh said, yes, they will increase taxes elsewhere. Kia Vinay BDA says, apologies if I sound dumb, but before this announcement, wasn't the price too high in the first place? Doesn't make sense to me. Well, you're not dumb. You're an intelligent person who thinks, Kia. You think. The problem with governments is they don't think the people think. That's the challenge. You know, when they do stuff like this, you know, I even saw one of the PLP people, supporters, put something on that Facebook group, basically coming out and saying, Belco increasing prices again, acting if they're angry. And I'm just like, they really are playing this. They're playing this. Like the PLP, the supporters, they're playing this. And I just asked the government to do one thing. We know that many of you are fighting for your jobs. But stop playing with the people, man. Like, let's not act like this is not some sort of game to you. Because if you could have reduced this all this time, well, since the economic performance improved, why wait until they did this? Because that actually says that, oh, so you could have done this previously. You're not heroes. This is one of my issues. We have got to stop acting like people are heroes for doing things that they should be doing. It's like celebrating children for doing the right thing. If you tell a child not to go outside and they don't go, you don't reward them. When you tell adults not to speed over the speed limit, you don't reward them. The reward is their safety. Tell a child not to play with fire, the reward is the chance of not getting burned. Your government they are not heroes for doing what they should be doing. Audience, what are your thoughts on the government slashing energy taxes in response to the Balco hike? What are your thoughts? We've got Instagram. Merrick's9194 says, I have had my flag up for a week. She's a St. George's fan, hopefully. There you go. But what are your thoughts, audience? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this conversation? Let's go back to the audience. Teresa and Marie says, yes, rob Peter to pay Paul. Maurice Foley says, if they wanted to reduce Balco taxes, they would have done that already. Indeed. Indeed. And folks, let's be honest. It's election season. You're going to see a lot more of this. One thing I will say to anyone, right? I'll say to anyone. Think about your vote. Because if you're voting based on what they've done for you lately versus what they've done for you the entire time they've been government, you get what you deserve. That's the reality. You get what you deserve. There's no way anyone should be celebrating this. It's something that needs to be questioned. Okay, yes, they're cutting the energy tax bill, so you're not going to have to worry about that hike. But there's more questions that this leads to, audience. Come on, we're smarter than that. Renee Simmons says, of course they will increase taxes somewhere. People need to read between the lines. It's simply electioneering. Yeah. It is electioneering. Suzanne Ingham says, you are not the only one thinking that. Fat fingers, small letters. Sorry. Thank you for the clarification. What are your thoughts on the government slashing energy taxes in response to the Balco hike? Maurice Foley says, next, they will get rid of sugar tax. Up for this? Well, I had that written down on my notes. Because I'll tell you what, there's more coming. And knowing how Bermudians felt about sugar tax, it would not surprise me if they said, we've evaluated the sugar tax and we realized that it's done more harm than good, so we're going to eliminate that. Yeah. Look, folks. Break something and then fix it. That's what this government operates like. That's what it comes across as. Break it, then fix it. And you look like the hero. Sean DeShield says slashing energy taxes is another bait and switch electioneering tactic. Yeah. Michael Daniel says, is Balco's increase forever? I think the challenge with Balco is Michael Daniels. It always seems like it's going up. And it's a private entity. That's what happens. My response, the government's response, as some people were saying yesterday, could be to give some tax breaks on solar energy and green energy. Not just this kind of tax break on energy taxes with Balco. Derek Hendrickson says we need viable political options. Maybe FDM has some legs. Well, See, today we've got the Honorable Marc Bean on. Robert Nestor says the fact that they raised it on Emancipation Day says a lot. I didn't even realize that correlation. But hey, and I say this with respect, it may not come across like that. When you have a government MP who is the president of the parent company of Belco, who comes across as the preacher man, the premier who comes across as your hero, right? They can do no wrong in some people's eyes. And all we are is complainers. We're people who don't get it. I just want to remind people, this is your country. The government doesn't get paid if you don't vote for them, meaning the individuals. They don't become MPs or ministers. Stop falling for the okie doke. Words, words, words. Spring Maya Palacio in for the Daily Hour news break after this. Traveling Trotty says 2-week notice for an increase is not fair to the public. There should be at least 30 days notice. All right, let's bring Maya Palacio in. Don't forget, we got the Honorable Marc Bean, the founder of the Free Democratic Movement, coming up after the news break. Stick with us.
Good morning. Good morning.
Greetings, MP. How you doing?
Been an okay morning.
Okay. This your final day before you head off to Paris.
Yeah. A lot of sleepless nights going on over here.
Paris. You know, I've never been to Paris. Have you been before?
No.
Oh, well, MP. I heard that it's a very romantic city.
Yay.
Why you roll your eyes? So you might come back and say, Jamel, and show your hand. I'm like, trying to show me, Ma? Yeah, I don't know, Ma.
Just believe I highly doubt you'll ever see that from me.
I'm just saying. Or you'll come back and say, bro, I got hired by NBC.
You might hear that from me, though.
But nah, I'm happy for you, man. I can't wait. Hopefully we get to communicate while you're there, so I can, follow. Or you gonna be updating like your Media Maya, or just?
I will be able to update Media Maya. You can tell I just have not been doing much on that page right now. It's been on the ground, so much worked with behind the scenes for the Media Olympic team. Very happy with the marketing team I'm working with, but it's been crazy. It's been a lot.
Okay. Well, I think Suzanne's gonna miss your hairstyle. She says, "Awesome day to you. Hair looks great. Please tell whoever is. Oh, tell me Rain is here. Tank Rain, please. Oh, she wants some rain in your weather. So
you know what? That's so funny that you said, Suzanne, because it's been pouring raining out here in Toronto. Like I don't know, everyone see it's been like almost like flooding some days. And the other day I was just watching the rain pour down. I'm just like, what a waste. And I literally thought that my Bermuda, I was like, what a waste of rain. Like they don't collect it or nothing. It just like falls. And I realized how advanced Bermuda is in that sense.
But that's crazy, right? I didn't realize that till I moved to the US. I'm like, rain's so pointless here, right? Like they don't do anything with it. Then when I came to Florida, well, they need it, because if not, it'd be like those fires they have in California every now and then. So yeah, they need it here. But
yeah, I was like, at least the ground's getting something. But I was just like,
it's pointless in some places. What you got for? Well, did you want any juice in that Belco conversation before we jump in?
Yeah, things on my mind right now. I mean, thank you, Tara, for the report. Yesterday I was watching, I was like, yeah, it's actually the increase that they had originally asked for as well, and what the RA decided to like agree upon. I was like, that is a major increase, and this has been a major issue across the island for some time now. And yeah, I would think it's agreeable that maybe they should go looking into more solar, cleaner energy, which they are already for transportation. So like pretty heavy on that when it comes to transportation. But yeah, in terms of helping other Bermudians out, families to do it, that's a different type of thing that probably needs to be looked at more, because yeah, solar energy, it's got to be more considered. Balco's increases have been astronomical, and they say it's because 2 years inflation and having to bring in raw materials into the island, like things are just costing, and obviously with the business, it's going to cost them too. But I don't know if they say they're looking for other places where they're able to cut down and things like that for the consumer. I would love to see where in their hierarchy of everyone getting paid, what's being cut there from the very top in order to save for the people.
Yeah, right. Oh,
Like
she's
what individual sacrifices are being made or anything, because they said they're looking at every single possible way. So,
okay. All right.
but yeah, it's gonna be a
I,
challenge.
I appreciate your how can I put it? The good
I'm just
heart.
thinking always. I'm just thinking at every level, Joel.
Yeah, that good heart of yours. Yeah. May it enter politics someday. All right, what you got in the news break?
Oh, good morning, everyone. This is your Daily Hour News brought to you by People's Pharmacy, and a great story starting off your morning. 16-year-old Berkeley students Jaquan O'Connor and Dejan Smith are taking part in the Bermuda Fire and Rescue Service Youth Summer Program. The Bermuda Fire and Rescue Service, in collaboration with the Department of Workforce Development, commenced this Youth Summer Program. This initiative offers an educational opportunity for young individuals keen to pursue a career in the fire department. Our Chief Fire Officer, Donald Lovell, expressed his enthusiasm for the program, stating, "We are delighted to welcome both to the fire department family. This initiative is designed to inspire and equip the next generation of firefighters with the skills and values necessary for this noble profession." So big ups to them and congratulations.
I actually think that's so cool. I wonder if the Bermuda police can do something like that. That's cool. I love that. I wish that was yesterday, because I would have mentioned it to Assistant Commissioner Daniels, but that's pretty cool.
It is. I think I know that when the Department of Workforce tries to connect former or students who just graduated from college. I remember that one story I did about a student who was with the police department and there was no role available at the time, but the police or the officer who got to speak about her greatness and how much she did support the department. He was really in hopes that something would open up for her to continue working there. I'll follow up on that because I'd love to know if she is actually there in a full-time role now, because she helped them with a couple of the investigations too, because they didn't have those courses anywhere else. And that was the only thing that she could do when she graduated from university. So definitely want to follow up on that one. Thank you for reminding me.
All right.
Oh, in other news, Bermuda launched a Kids Fly free promotion. Now, this will allow one eligible free child seat per full fare adult. So basically, under the new guidelines, they had this new promotion. So any children under the age of 12 and under can be liable. And this could only apply for bookings made between the 17th and the 16th. So that's what's going on right now at Bermuda. If you know anyone who has a child under 12, looking to come to Bermuda, they're hoping that this will help encourage more family style to the island.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's an interesting concept. Pretty cool.
Yeah, quite interesting indeed. And the world of rugby, something that we don't get to talk about much on this channel, but yeah, in the rugby world, the under-19 men's team placed second and earning silver at the 2024 Rugby America's North Men's International Tournament Championship. So that happened quite recently out there. In this photo, you see some of the Bermuda rugby team just getting out there and digging deep. There was quite a lot of people in this competition, so to earn silver, obviously their coach and their team is quite proud about that. They're looking for gold, but they did very well.
Okay, nice. Rugby players are some interesting people. I mean, the hits they take without the protection and helmets. You're brave, man.
Yeah, I think it's mainly even the ears. I heard horrible stories because it's so much against each other. So that's even more crazy. But in more sports-related news, coming from an international friendly match that the Bermuda women's football team had, Jai Smith and Victoria Davis saw the back of the net against Belize in a conquering match for the Lady Gombe Warriors of 2-0. So big up to them. All of us sports here on the island are doing quite well right now.
I love it. Congratulations to them.
And also, if you didn't see this, you might want to check it out. Burn News has a story right now of our first Bermuda medalist, Clarence Hill, who medaled in the heavyweight division at the 1976 Montreal Games. Well, he actually got to speak to them and tell them about things that he's hoping for Bermuda's athletes to accomplish and what it was like for him, but he remembers as well, and giving them advice as to what's gonna happen out there. So if you haven't checked that out, go ahead and check that out.
Yeah, I just think in history, I have probably more of an issue with how he was treated after he won than he does at this point. But yeah.
Indeed. Yeah. I remember doing the story about just because when Philadelphia got recognized, he sort of finally got recognized as well. And that was something that touched his heart once he realized people started to like remember him as well. So it was such a bittersweet thing, right? Like it's upsetting that her win was what made more people in the island. Not that people already didn't know, because many people did recognize Mr. Hill, but it also, finally great that because of it, more people got to know him.
Okay.
So it is an interesting situation. But as for the weather today, it's looking hazy sunshine, turns cloudy at sometimes, but there might be a few showers. So let's hope that rain's going to come down for you guys. Now you get something in your tanks. So that'll be good for you. And we got a high of 85 degrees.
All righty. Well, Maya, I've got some days of the year for you, but big up is Nelson Mandela International Day. But I like this one. It's Black Leaders Awareness Day, celebrating influential figures whose leadership, vision, and achievements inspire progress and foster a more inclusive future. So, question to the audience. Who is your favorite Black leader? Hopefully it's a Bermudian Black leader, but who is someone you consider your favorite Black leader? It doesn't have to be a politician, it could be a family member, it could be a boss. Who's one of your, when you think of influential Black leaders, who's your favorite? Maya, who's yours?
I have three because I've actually been thinking about it, funny enough, yesterday about what I want to bring to Paris with me. So first one is Malcolm X. It's my favorite quote in the world, and it's just like, the media is the most powerful entity in the world. They have the power to make the innocent look guilty and the guilty look innocent. And that's always been something that I used to read every single morning when I woke up, just that powerful quote about, the responsibility as a journalist and the role as media. The second would be the Honorable Dr. Nalitha Butterfield. Just the amazing thing she's done, be able to have conversations with her making me think a lot, and just being proud of like what she had accomplished. And she actually had gifted me a couple of things that I'm like, okay, I want to be able to take this with me just to hold it and remind myself. And last one is doctor as well, Barbara, that I met in Dalhousie. She was the first Black woman to graduate with a PhD in the University of Dal, and it was an amazing conversation I had with her, and her journey just inspired me tremendously. And yeah, I definitely hold her in high regard. What about you?
Audience, it is Black Awareness Leaders Day. It's Black Awareness Leaders Day, audience. Let us know who's some Black leaders that inspire you, influence you. Like, who are some of your favorites? Mine, I would have to go with a few. But I think most influential in career-wise was definitely Glenn Blakeney, Elroy Smith, and Scott Pierman. I think those three, take away the politics, Glenn's political career. Without them, I just don't think, let's be honest, they were the only Black-owned media company in Bermuda at a certain point, right? In a majority Black country. That their role, I don't think people understand the importance of what they did and how they changed things and how they inspired more people like yourself and me, the Teos and others. So I would say, as far as Black leaders, them. From a political standpoint or activism, I agree with Larry Marshall. He says his father, Larry Marshall Sr. I mean, this man took on a cause, risked all, his family's, financial state for a cause that he truly believed in. And you don't see that. And then the men in my family, like I have good pedigree in terms of entrepreneurs. All of my uncles and my father, these are people who have worked and created stuff. No, I cannot say Black leaders without women. There are some very influential women, and I'm gonna pick on her, and she don't like me calling her out, but I'm gonna say Tamara Richardson, People's Pharmacy. I think she is very good at what she does. One of the most intelligent people, and also the women that I work with. Some of them don't see themselves as leaders; they just like to get. But no, I mean, you all do what you do. So yeah, I know that was a lot, but yeah. I tried to do live-in people, folks. I tried to do live-in people. All right, let's go to the audience real quickly. Don't forget, we've got Marc Bean coming up. The Honorable Marc Bean's coming up. Mia Motley says Charles H. Jefferson II. We've got Hadley Swan says Mia Motley's the Prime Minister of Barbados, for those who don't know. Hadley Swan says Hadley Stevenson, my father. Okay. WKD Lama says Louis Brown Evans and Patrice Lumumba. We've got Traveling Trotty says Aaron from Bermuda is love. Rikai Bascom Emery says Marc Bean, for his work with the PLP and FDM, made the PLP the best opposition party. I mean, people forget he won them that election in 2017, but we're not going to go there. Martha Dismont says Karen Simmons.
Yes.
And Kai Bascom Emery says Victoria Pierman put many Bermudians through their paces, taught law to Westgate inmates. All right. Keep them coming, audience. Maya, thank you so much. Off to Paris, safe travels. And, we'll miss you. they'll miss you, they said. Yeah.
The time difference is going to be crazy, but I hope to catch you guys most days.
All right. Well, you be well, and we'll be in touch.
See you soon.
All righty. My Palacio, folks. Do not go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break. We've got the Honorable Marc Bean coming up. You don't want to miss this conversation. We're talking about the FDM's education policy, so stick with us. We'll be back in 2 minutes, 27 seconds.
Let's face it, life can be a little wild, but shopping doesn't have to be. I choose People's, so that whether it's a prescription that needs to be filled, a toy for my little terror, or a gift for a new addition to the family, we'll see about that. Everything's available in one convenient location. Some call it People's, I call it my one-stop shop in the city. People's, we're here for you.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
It took 14 days to build your business plan. 6 months to build the courage to leave your day job. 3 weeks to find the perfect location. It took 10 days to outfit your space just right. And 1 day before your first client walked in the door. All totaled, it took you a full year to get your business operational. And this is just the beginning. To the entrepreneurs, the risk takers, the people that shape our economic community, we salute you and are here for you every step of the way. BEDC, providing knowledgeable, progressive, professional, and innovative support to Bermuda businesses.
Summer is almost here. Dive into the season with dog floats and dog pools. Enjoy 20% off West Paul's dog floating toys and shop our life jackets for safety in the water this summer. Get all your summer needs before the holidays and events begin. Don't forget to stock up on poo bags and check out Dicky Bags, the poo bag holder that locks in the smell until you can dispose of it. Remember, even dogs need sunblock, so visit Noah's Ark today, Bermuda's most trusted animal supply store for all your summer essentials, and ask us about our rewards program.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Big Show. Jamal Hartman here. It is the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy. Don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right, without further ado, we're behind, but I just really hope the Honorable Marc Bean doesn't have anywhere to go at 9 because we've got to have a conversation. So let's give a warm TDH welcome to the Honorable Marc Bean. We're discussing the FDM's education policy. Greetings, sir. Oh, you're on mute. Gotta take you off mute. Gotta unmute yourself. He is on mute. There we go. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We hear you.
Mm-hmm.
How's things going, brother? All's well over this side. How's things on your end?
All's well. I mean, what we have life, so we can have to give thanks under circumstances. So, all's well. And good morning to yourself. Good morning to Sister Maya, and good morning to your listening audience.
Indeed, indeed. So, real quickly before we jump into today's conversation, I mean, you are Marc Bean, FDM. It's only right that I ask you about the question earlier. We were talking about the government reducing the energy tax in response to Belco's hike. Did you want to add anything to what was said or regarding that situation?
Yeah, well, everything that your audience had spoken about with you, I tend to agree with. I tend to agree with what the opposition spokesperson, Scott Perman, has also presented to the media. And when I think about it, it's a classic case of problem, reaction, solution. So the problem is facilitated or cultivated initially by government decision making. And then when you have a reaction that inevitably comes from a Belco to seek to raise prices, and then the public naturally are very upset about it, then the government puts forth ideas as if they are saviors and they are managing the reaction. And it's really, like some people have said, it's almost bait and switch. And the broken window fallacy, which is what you very cleverly spoke about earlier, where you have governments who will break things to say that they have fixed things, and then they say they're being productive by fixing the things that they broke. And that's a classic case here. I also think of the regulatory authority, which is a challenge within itself. And I have to take some blame for it, because the regulatory authority was put into being by myself as the minister at the time. I became the minister, and 3 or 4 days after becoming the minister, I had to go into the House and I passed the Regulatory Authority Act. And, initially when the PSBNs had given me the act to review, I was struck by how large it was. It was at least 400 pages. And immediately I felt that was a problem, because any legislation that's over 300-400 pages long cannot be ultimately beneficial to the people. It's just too much rules, too much nonsense going on, and so said, so done. And, we probably need to take a look at the regulatory authority and their functions again in the future. And the last point that I like to make is that one of the challenges that we're facing in terms of energy costs is the result of policy decisions that were made in 2018 in regards to preventing Belco from initiating or utilizing their North Power Plant to burn liquefied natural gas, which is what they had planned for. And people have to recognize that LNG is a cleaner and cheaper renewable fuel that obviously should translate into lower electricity prices if Belco were allowed to use it in the first place. Since then, we have been doing all this. Belco has had to use heavy fuel or revert to heavy fuel. And you know what that led to? And that led to the residents in particular in Pembroke suffering environmental damage to the roofs and to the houses and the properties, and obviously even in health. And that made Belco then revert to burning light fuel, which is much more expensive. And that led to price hikes a few months ago or last year. And so there's just a continuous burden that's being set upon the people of this country. And I could tell you from my own experience, and I'm sure everyone can relate to it, but yeah, we know energy costs are through the roof. They're unsustainable for everybody. And I'm sick and tired of it. Even when I'm not on island, a few months ago when I was abroad, I was still paying $300 a month for electricity to Belco, and I'm not even home. There's nobody in my house. And so it shows that, it's almost like the cost of living is so expensive, it costs you just to wake up and breathe. And that's how I think about how the Belco situation and the energy situation is in the island. Ultimately, the solution is for us to sit down with Belco and see how soon we can get the LNG burning in the North Power Plant. And as some persons have said and posited for thought, over the long term, we might want to consider even a small nuclear power plant. But that's where the consultation and reasoning amongst the people and the experts. But right now, it's not sustainable.
Yeah, and thank you for that. Thank you for that, because I think it playing politics with when people are struggling. I mean, playing politics simply at any point isn't helpful, but especially when people are struggling, early benefits the person who's trying to remain elected. So
correct, like things like lowering taxes.
Yeah,
your audience are very attuned to what that means and what it represents, and it's very shallow. And so I don't have nothing to add to what your audience has already presented and provided.
Indeed. Well, thank you for that. So today I want to talk about the FDM on education, the stance, the policy, the plans. Let's start just by explaining what concerns the FDM most about education in Bermuda right now.
The biggest concern about education is for the Free Democratic Movement is, or one of the concerns was the fact that the policy that the current government is presenting is to close schools. That's one issue. But then also in terms of the overall performance of the education system at a public school level, while you do have some bright lights that are emerging through the current system, from our perspective, the standards have been reduced, and it's a reflection of a government that has lowered the standards of everything, and now we're reaching towards mediocrity. We're very mediocre in everything that we do in the island, and so it's reflected in our education system. And when we think about the issues that we are having with our young people, and violent crime and incarceration and murders, etc., then there is a direct correlation to the way we think and act. And education has a major role to fulfill in cultivating right thought, right thinking, and right speech, which is the foundation of harmony in society. And we see the result of being negligent in providing a proper education system now being manifested in the behaviors or antisocial behavior of our young people and not so young people. And so education is very important for us to change the trajectory of the country, in addition to strengthening and reinforcing the need for us to have a stronger family unit, and then have a government that is conscientious of their responsibility to follow the old adage that if you can help, don't hurt. So that's where we feel that there's so much changes that can be made. If there are some things that we can identify that's worth continuing, then of course we would. But there are a lot of things that need to change, and we have identified some of these things in our policy.
Well, real quickly, you mentioned the schools closing. Well, you don't plan on closing schools. However, people seemed a bit confused when you wrote out the policy because of, well, we don't have enough students, they're saying, to fill the ones we have. Tell us more about why that is a focus in improving education, to keep schools open.
You cannot lead from a position of pessimism. Okay, you cannot lead by saying that the cup is half empty. Good leadership, under whatever circumstance, if they see that the cup is half empty, they actually will perceive it to be a cup that's half full. And so what we have seen within the current government is an attitude that says that things are getting worse and worse by the day. And so we're just going to add more fuel to the fire, and we're going to close schools because there's been a mass migration of Bermudians out of Bermuda, because of many of the causes and reasons is because it's just a high cost of living and it's not sustainable for the majority of the people. And so government's responsibility is actually to put in policies that can alleviate that stress, not add fuel to the fire. And so closing schools, when you look, and then when you ask, well, what's your rationale for closing schools? None of the rationale made sense. And that's all you had the West End and the St. David's groups, speaking out and standing up against the government with a desire to close specific schools, and that led to the political expediency of the government then reverting to or changing course and saying, well, we're going to keep your school open, but we're going to close another school using the same criteria, which was very arbitrary, and it showed that it had no economic rationale behind it. It was really just, like I say, a political expediency. And in the end, it's a source of divide and rule in terms of each community and within the whole island. And it certainly does not answer the question of what we're going to do to foster and develop more growth in the country. So in the future, we could possibly have those who have left and migrated out of the country consider returning. They're not going to return if the cost of living can't be reduced. They're not going to return if they feel or they don't have faith that their children are going to be adequately educated to think and speak and function in this 21st century. And so that's a big concern that the FDM has. And so we said that we're not going to close any schools because we are going to be optimistic. Our intent is to bring more people to the island, not just select high net worth individuals coming from other lands, but also taking consideration on how we can get our own people back on the island, because there's no use having high productivity if Bermudians are not included.
So, so we have a comment here from Teresa. She says, the best optimism starts from realism because there are very real issues with enrollment. She goes on to say, I agree with cultural significance of schools were undervalued, but there's still a real issue in schools. Now, there's a lot more to the plan if you've read it, folks. So I don't want to get stuck on this. But Teo did a comparison yesterday in terms of other similar jurisdictions, I think Cayman Islands and a few others, in the number of schools. And he went and actually shared that the reason Bermuda had so much more in excess of schools was because of segregation, right? So basically the point he was showing is that we have so many schools now, we had so many schools then because of segregation. Now we don't necessarily have much of a need. I appreciated the fight that the West End Warriors were fighting. I did. But because of my own experience, this is on me in Bermuda's public education space. I have no connection to any school. I could care less if they close Prospect, Cedar, whatever. That's just me. So, but I also said that's my bias based on my own experience. I like what Rekha Emery shared on social media, who is, I believe, the chair of the FDM, where he said, no, the FDM's plan is to get people, you have a plan to get people to the island to fill those schools. But there are people who are still going to say, we just don't have the funds to keep them up. So in terms of Teresa's comment, how do you turn that, get people to share that optimism when they're just not feeling that it's real?
But then let's deal with reality. Numbers don't lie, okay? And, I'm sure this is going to be a shock to everyone, but I've got some information to share to everybody, okay? When we close, we have schools that already been closed, okay? We have Heron Bay that's been closed at the primary school level, and we have T.N. Tatum that has been closed at the middle school level. And so I went and crunched the numbers as contained in the budget book 2024-2025 of the government budget book. And you know what was revealed, Jamal?
What's that?
This is what was revealed. The cost is actually more expensive closing schools than actually keeping them open and operating. And let me explain how. And this is what the numbers prove, okay? When you closed Heron Bay, the students had to shift. More than likely, they shifted west towards Port Royal, or they shifted eastward towards Purvis. The numbers reveal that shift caused an increase of $1.4 million to the overall education budget between those three schools, okay, as in comparison to what it was when Heron Bay was open. Likewise, T.N. Tatum, also when it was closed and children were then sent primarily to Sand Secondary and Dellwood, right? There was an increase again of approximately $1.4 million over and above what the cost was when we had T.N. Tatum open. And what that reveals is that consolidations of schools, and centralizing of schools, i.e., through closing schools, actually increases the overall cost of education. And the reason why is because the cost of transitioning those students from one facility or one plant to another facility or another plant, right, is exponentially higher than what it would be if you would have just kept Warwick Secondary or Heron Bay open. And so it might seem counterintuitive, but that's not. It's actually not. It's really a situation of consequences that people didn't understand was going to come as a result of these decisions. And that's comes as a result of governments not really dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Yeah. And so I like to repeat that the schools that have been closed so far, as a result, the taxpayer has been burdened with an additional 2.4 or 2.8 to upwards to $3.5 million since these schools have been closed. Do you know that Heron Bay has been closed and we still pay just under $900,000 a year in this current budget? $900,000 has been paid this year, and Heron Bay is closed. But when it was the operational cost of Heron Bay was approximately $1.1 million, an additional $250,000. Now you tell me, is $250,000 an amount that's that high that we can now sacrifice the education of our children? So if that's the case, then why are you closing? Why did you choose to the Bermuda government not to close St. David's? Because St. David's has the smallest size, the smallest enrollment rate, but we also recognize that St. David's is way out yonder, in a very isolated position. And then, and if you have even 50 students at St. David's, those St. David's Islanders, their children deserve to be able to get educated in their own environment within their own community. And I don't think anyone would say that that additional $200,000 that we have to pay to keep the school open is not worth it. I wonder who these people are when they say so quickly that we need to close schools, and at the same time we say we need more people coming into the island. There's a serious contradiction or hypocrisy going on in this island, and part and parcel of it is the fact that people haven't done their homework. But the Free Democratic Movement did its homework.
I just want to ask the audience to keep the engagement going. Audience, let us know, yes or no, do you agree with closing schools? Yes or no? Teray Toast just asking one quick question because I want to move on. We've got a lot more to talk about in the plan. She asks, she says, "Wow, that's interesting. Can the FDM share this on your page? I'm curious if it's more costly in the short term but cheaper in the long term." So can you guys share that on your website?
Well, long term, we will have to see, but what we do know is that centralization, which is part and parcel of the policy of this current government, will always be more expensive. What we are proposing is a more decentralized approach where we can actually embrace the use of smaller schools and smaller enrollment. But it doesn't mean that we have to close schools to satisfy the whims and wishes of God knows who. I don't understand how so many Bermudians who are educated in the public system can fall for that okie doke. It's best to crunch the numbers, and you crunch the numbers by going on, you can Google the Bermuda budget book or the Bermuda government's budget, and you look at the numbers and you can see for yourself that there were massive increases as a result of those transitions from smaller schools.
I think the FDM's policy, as I read it, is so much more than this, though. And I don't want us to spend another minute talking, because I think we're going to take this and run with it and miss the points, which I think they did the other day. And that
was the intent. That was the intent, is to find something that they could focus on and then claim that the FDM is being fiscally irresponsible. Correct. But actually we're being very visionary and very practical, because our children come first.
Yeah, but let's talk about it, because I think, you just said it as I go into what I want to say is the education, the standard of education is the key, thing in all of this, not necessarily the building. That's a part of it. So one of your key points was to maintain a high teaching standard, right? Like high levels of standards for teachers. Explain what this will look like and how it will work.
Our quest to improve teaching standards. I mean, every educational institution, every education system should always seek to continuously improve teaching standards. And so we will seek to institute training. I mean, there's already existing training today, but we will institute improved and enhanced training to ensure that the performance of teachers, especially younger teachers, improves. And one of the ways in which we think we can do that is by tapping into the large human capital that we have available in the form of our retired teachers. There are numerous top-level teachers who have retired after the age of 65 who the FDM feels can re-enter the classroom in support of newer teachers as they start gaining experience. Because obviously when it comes to teaching, experience can't be replaced. And so why would a person like Miss Erla Dean, Aunt Erla, for example, not be engaged to come into the classroom at a primary school to assist the teacher in getting certain concepts that might be difficult for some students to grasp? Why can't a Mrs. Erla Dean come on board and be hired at a fee? Obviously, it doesn't have to be too expensive in any way, but at least we can engage a Miss Erla Dean, for example, so she can come in the classroom and assist teachers to improve their methods. Because some things in life, even though we are living in this modern world, some things don't change. Some things are just innately valuable. And our teachers from the days going by are extremely valuable. I don't think there's been a shift in the way we teach 1 + 1, And I don't think there's been a shift in the way we teach how to read and to write. Okay. And so we can embrace what we have, the human capital that's sitting there idle in retirement today. Why not bring them out of retirement and ask them to come back into educational space and help increase or improve the teaching delivery of our younger teachers? The only people who will benefit, or the main beneficiaries of that, are going to be our students. And so that's why we feel that focusing on utilizing the talent that we have in this country. We have some very good teachers in this country. We have very excellent educational administrators and leaders in this country, but they need to be encouraged to lead. And that starts with sound overall leadership, which is what the FDM is going to seek to provide.
Indeed, and thank you for that, explaining that. And I don't think there's a person in the world, even those who oppose you, who could really honestly disagree with that whole stance and position. But moving on, you did mention decentralized school governance. The One Bermuda Alliance had floated the idea of an education authority, and the FDM is focused on decentralizing education. Explain the difference between the OBA's approach versus the FDM's approach to education as it regards to an authority and decentralizing.
Well, we are proposing an independent inspectorate, right? That more than likely could be very similar to what the OBA is proposing. I haven't gone into detail into analyzing what the OBA has done, because the last time we spoke publicly, or I spoke publicly at a press conference and I was asked about education, I said quickly that we're not going to close schools. Then lo and behold, within 1 hour, the OBA decided that they will put out a press statement just repeating what we said, that they are not going to close schools. And so they were mimicking us, and after being in opposition for 6 or 7 years, and this issue has been on the table for at least 4 or 5 years, and they have had silence, then to come right behind us and repeat what we said was disingenuous. So it makes me think like, they're not really serious. But then an hour or 2 hours after that, or maybe the next day, you had the deputy leader of the OBA come out and say the complete opposite of what they actually stated in their press release. So I'm not sure what their stand is. is not really my concern. But when it comes to the answer of your question of what's the difference between our idea of an independent inspectorate and theirs as an independent authority, when I think about it, more than likely it's going to be a difference of saying potato and patata. But the idea, I think, is that we do need to reduce the bureaucracy of the Ministry of Education, and not just in terms of numbers, but also the overreach of the Ministry of Education, and shift the authority and decision-making of education back to where it should be, and that is in the form of school boards and school leadership that directly engage with parents and other valuable stakeholders. Smaller schools, community focus, i.e. the way we came up in Bermuda back in the day, when you had Sand Secondary School, Warwick Secondary School, Whitney Institute, etc. And then you had your primary schools below it. That's what we mean by returning to the idea of community schools, because one thing's for certain, when we're talking about antisocial behavior, I don't think it's anyone sensible enough to deny the fact that when we consolidated our schools and centralized our high schools into Berkeley and Cedar Bridge, that it had a very negative impact in the total educational experience of our young people. And it also cultivated or gave the grounding for increased antisocial behavior, now manifested as unbridled, uncontrolled gang warfare and fratricide.
Audience, if you have any questions or comments, please send them through. We'll get through as many as possible. Suzanne Ingham says, Mr. Bean, even Dr. Muriel Wade Smith, an exceptional teacher. Teresa Marie said, I agree, because school children need more personal attention, not less. But we do have, in terms of, do you agree with closing schools? Dr. Roselda Severin said yes. And she goes on to say the initial increase is not uncommon. There are costs to education reform, agreed or not. And Suzanne Ingham says, no need to close the schools. Lydia Simmons says, truth to you. So real quickly, I want to touch on something, because again, if folks, I would encourage you to read it yourself. I always encourage people to read it for themselves. And I went and looked and I read it, and I actually liked what I read. I'm gonna be honest with you. And I'm not saying that because, he's here, we're having this conversation now. For me, it's really about, the action. But I want to touch on the parental choice in school competition. That was something that stood out to me. Just explain to the audience what the parental choice in school competition that the FDM plans to implement looks like.
Well, parental choice is one of the foundation stones of an effective education system. And oftentimes when you see parents have the ability to choose where they want their child to be educated, then they will be more committed. And you can even go a step further when you compare, for instance, people who sacrifice to send their children to private school and pay $25,000, $26,000 a head. And many sacrifice because they don't trust the current system. Then that choice of the parent goes a long way to ensuring that their child is going to have the best outcome in terms of being educated. And so we feel that by being able to provide or encourage parents to be closer to the decision-making process of having the options of where they want their child to go to school, instead of how it is now where you're basically placed, then that should actually help in terms of the delivery of education, because the parents are going to be right on top of or be the primary stakeholder in the whole educational process of their child. So that is what was the second?
The second part was the competition.
Well, yeah, listen, we are human beings, and the only way we can measure our performance in life is to measure it versus other human beings. If you remove competition out of the classroom, if you remove competition between schools, whether it's academic or athletic, then you're removing one of the main purposes of being educated. You're removing one of the main sources of being able to measure your performance. If you don't know where to strive, then you're not going to grow, right? And so we have to have an environment or educational environment that develops and cultivates competition. When I was going to school, right, I went to the Earl Berkeley, we were told on no uncertain terms that our primary competitor was Work Academy. And you have no idea what that meant to us when we were told that they are our competitor. We were taught to go and beat them and be better than them in every which way. Okay. And so when you have that type of competitive spirit, you could only have better, more productive outcomes, not only for Berkeley, but also for Work Academy. And that applies to every school. It's just like what's happening even on the school field in terms of athletics. When we had real inter-school sports, then our sporting delivery, our participation, in sports, was much more effectual than what it is today, notwithstanding that we have excellent athletes. But people need competition to measure their own performance. And if you don't have competition, or you remove competition from education, then you're playing a serious game of trying to put everyone in the same box. And human beings and human diversity cannot be put in the same box. Okay, we need to have more free thinking instead of more progressive, or what they call socialized thinking.
Interesting. I'm going to give up.
Because we don't prescribe to this idea that everyone gets a ribbon. Okay, in real life, what you put in is what you get out. You progress based on merit. Okay, but when you say that everyone gets a ribbon for participation, then merit gets thrown out the door, and all these other considerations get put into play, and in the end, society gets weaker and weaker. I'm a person, and the FDM, we advocate the idea that if you come first, you got a blue ribbon. If you come second, you got a red ribbon. If you come third, you got a gold ribbon. If you come fourth, you got nothing except the inspiration to go back and do better, so you can become first, second, or third. But if I give you a ribbon for just participation, then you have no incentive to get better. But when you take that loss, and a loss is always a good learning experience, when you don't attain the standard that you've been striving for, then now you got the encouragement to do better. And education is about doing better, because no one's perfect. So we need competition.
Yeah, I think audience, let us know your thoughts on that. I mean, as a person who experienced inter-school sports, the bragging rights that came with it, it was something. I mean, today's children won't understand what you're saying. Let's just be honest; they don't have.
And that's a shame.
They wouldn't. And I think that I think it is a shame. I think, many of in some of my chat groups always talk about the everyone gets a ribbon thing, and it has created a very okay. I said it on this show before. It's created this culture where you go away and you get a degree and you come back and you expect a job, and that's not how it works. And I hate to say this, but when I see tweets and stuff like, "Oh, got a degree, done this, done," and can't even find a job, and then blame the government, whoever the government of the day is, and I think that's a sense of entitlement, because I'm like, okay, you got a degree, but so does Tom, Jack, Mary, Louis. They have degrees too. What makes you stand out? Why should they hire you? How are you outworking that person or this person? So I get it, and I hope people are taking in what you're saying rather than being defensive with the information. Because I tell you what, you want someone that's probably going to be direct with you rather than sugarcoating. And the truth is, we have created a society where people feel entitled to things. Oh, why that person got a ribbon? I didn't get one. Did you earn it?
Correct.
I get it.
Correct. And because this is real life. Okay. Education, if we're going to educate our child, we need to educate them to be prepared to be functional in real life. Okay. And real life says that this is the outcome. What you put in is what you get out. Okay. And that is a principle that must be instilled in our young people every day. There's no shortcuts to being successful in life. Okay, this whole idea that you can just get it because you, like you say, you feel entitled is part and parcel due to parents allowing that idea, but also a government creating a system that cultivates such an idea. And that is where the whole concept of mediocrity Well, everything we do is just mediocre, just the lowering of standards. It's setting in.
I want to further your point, you know, and I say this, I've said this on the show before, but Teo used to do this thing when we were at the radio station. And I've said this, audience, you know, you've heard this. Someone would bring in a local Bermudian would bring in a song, right? And Teo would say, "Who's your favorite artist?" And they would say, "Neo." He was hot at the time. They say, "Well, play your favorite Neo song and then play your song and listen to the difference." And the point I'm making is what Michelle White says right here. She says, "We strive when we see the competitor in front," right? So you're not just a singer. You're trying to get to where that person is, right? So that should be the minimum standard. But I like that you said mediocrity. You mentioned mediocrity because I think that's what we're breeding by the everyone gets a prize kind of thing. We have to have standards, you know. We have to have some sort of barometer. And it can't be, you know, at the end of the day, I said it since I started my career working. I don't look at life like anyone owes me anything except the opportunity to do what everyone else has the opportunity to do, which is make an honest living. That's the only thing. And to some people, that may be strange, but just give me the same opportunity as anyone else to be able to make an honest living. Yes, there's inequities, and some people are going to have head starts. What we can't deny that. But that doesn't mean that we have to use it as a tool to hold us from doing what we can do for ourselves. So I appreciate what you said. We've got a lot more to talk about. I just want to touch on some things. You don't have anywhere to go, do you? Okay. All right. No, I want to get through it. I don't want people.
Forward. No problem. No problem. I'm here. Let's talk. Let's reason.
Sean Smith says, Mark is speaking facts. I remember All-Star football at PHC back in the day, East versus West. Great baller came out of those competitions. Absolutely. I remember going to them. Sheikha Rana says, in 1990-91, the argument against consolidation and building the super high school was about inter-school sports and valuing competition. But the louder voices wanted equality between all students. Let's touch on that because we've had some educators come on and speak about the equality. I personally didn't even think the old education system worked. I thought that, you know, my colleagues in the TDH group the other day, Sancha and I disagreed on it, right? But we were talking about that. Like they were saying we should revert to how it was before. I don't think everything about it was perfect before. It wasn't perfect.
It wasn't perfect.
Yeah. With things we can take from it, like what you've mentioned, but I think we needed something new. I just don't think we needed what we got. But speak on that for a quick second, if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me make myself abundantly clear. In this physical realm, right, there's no such thing as equality. Okay? The only equality that human beings possess versus the next person is the equality of the soul. That's what we have in common. We all have a conscience. Okay, and that's what was given to us when we are created by our creator. And that conscience is one and the same from the next person. That's why the Bible says to love thy neighbor as thyself. Because once you know yourself, you recognize that the same soul that's within you is within your neighbor. But when it comes to the physical realm, not even the Cain's brothers, Wayne and Dwayne, have the same fingerprints. So there's no such thing, right, as equality in terms of the physical realm. Life is about what you put in is what you get out. So as long as we keep saying or expect to be equal at a physical level, then we'll always be chasing shadows and we'll always be on the bottom of the barrel. Okay, we need to have this idea in our minds that, you know, you have to compete, right, in order to be successful in life. That's how the real world works. Equality of opportunity, yes, you know, you can have that opportunity where everyone should, you know, it's a level playing field, and on merit you put in what you get, you put in the work, then you deserve the success. But just to think because you woke up today and because you have a beautiful smile that you are entitled to something that the next person has, it's a fallacy. There's no such thing as equality in the physical realm. Okay, there's no such thing. Now, that's not to say that what your strengths are, right, are better or worse than the next person. Every human being has a life purpose. They have talents that have been endowed in them from birth from our Creator. The question is that every person has to ask is, who am I and what is my purpose in life? Your purpose is going to be different from the next person's purpose. But that doesn't mean that next person is better or worse or less than you. It just means that you have your own purpose in life. And so you have to do, education is meant to develop and enhance your life purpose. And then when you get that life purpose down, it should be reflective on how you can use your life purpose and your talents to help and serve others, because that's how you help and serve yourself.
Yeah. Audience, keep your questions and comments coming. Also, make sure you share this conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Ensure people have access to the information being discussed. And if you haven't already, make sure you give us a thumbs up, a love, a like, whatever platform you are tuned in on. Continuing, look, the FDM chose to release an education policy. What is the overall aim? Like what do you hope to improve and achieve overall with this? And not just for the students, but the community and the island.
Yeah, human capital development. And there's two ways in which you can develop human capital. You can develop your own people through a very robust and high level education system. And you can also invite people from other countries into your country via an immigration policy. Those are the two ways in which you improve and increase human capital in a country. Now, you will see many of the naysayers who had an issue with the cost. They claim that closing schools or not closing schools is going to be costly. Many of these naysayers in the same breath will say that we need more people. We need to have more people, but that's via the immigration approach. How about more people in terms of our own people? How about if we're having more people, having Bermudians come back to the island and having the Bermudians that are on island having the best opportunity to become the masters of their destiny? A Bermudian in Bermuda who is not educated has no value to Bermuda, but a Bermudian in Bermuda who is educated is extremely valuable to the country. And so we reject this idea that is being put out there that the only way that you can develop human capital is by immigration. That's a cop-out. And to be honest, with the current government's approach, they are just feeding and reinforcing that idea that Bermudians are not worthy of our consideration. And we shouldn't put trust in Bermudians, and we shouldn't plan Bermuda's progress or rejuvenation with Bermudians at the center. And when you have an education system that seeks to close schools, then you are sending a message, a clear message to those who are willing to think and analyze what it represents as it pertains to the acquisition of power. You're sending a clear message that your desire is to foster an environment of powerlessness. But these are the same people that claim that it's some racist white man that's holding us back. That is white supremacy that's holding us back. But really, it's the policies that they're implementing that are the manifestation of a white supremacist attitude. And that's because they're trying to actually hinder or harm the development of education of your own people. Nothing is more slave master-like or slave-like than that type of attitude, and the FDM rejects it.
And that leads me to words are nothing but actions. When it comes to politics, a lot is said, a lot is shared. What is the FDM's action plan to implement all that needs to be done to improve education?
First of all, right, we represented an education policy. Well, at the forefront of our policy, we're going to rely on the experts within the Bermudian community, PhDs, master's degrees persons, and even those who don't have no degrees but are master teachers in their own right. And we're going to rely on them to actually implement what the final vision is going to look like. What we are presenting is aspirational. What we are presenting is not something that is set in stone. We're open to criticism, constructive criticism. We're open to advice. We're open to, we're going to pursue a path of consultation, genuine consultation with all the key stakeholders, whether it is the Bermuda Union of Teachers, whether it's the private schools, the home schools, our current educational teachers and administrators, and the people themselves, the public, who are the ultimate stakeholders in education. And through consultation, right, we have presented to you our overall vision. But what it looks like in terms of how it manifests, that will come in the future. It would be, I would be playing politics if I was to tell you exactly what it's going to look like or how it will manifest. But I could tell you the direction that we have to go.
Indeed. Just let people know how they can get in touch if they want to get involved. Obviously, you said you want to involve educators. We have quite a few educators who watch this show, excuse me, are involved in this show and engage in this show. How could they reach out to get involved with the FDM's education policy, offer insight or their expertise? You
could contact us on our website. That's it. That's the best way. FDM Bermuda.bm or .com, one of the two. You know, and what is it? BM.com, my wife says. So I'm sorry, you know, it's early. Okay. And you can also contact Rakai Emery, chairman, or you can contact myself. I've already given my phone number out publicly at another press conference. I don't think I'm going to do that again, but you can contact us. You can contact members of the FDM. You can go on our website. And also we have every Monday, we have an interactive discussion with the public that online over StreamYard that persons can log in, and we'll be discussing, especially over the next few weeks, we'll be discussing details of our education policy. And that's where you can offer comments. That's where you can get contact numbers and whatnot of different members. And feel free to come forward and participate. I will have you know that our policy has been developed with the assistance of some very brilliant young Black Bermudian educators. Okay, that's who has taken the lead in helping us developing our policy. Most of them are they have master's degrees and they have PhDs. And yeah, that is just an indication that we are going to put our faith in our own. We're going to trust our own. But as leaders, we have to set the tone. We have to set the direction to give them something to work with. If we say that we want to have a country that's going to have this crest of just being equal and everyone gets a ribbon, then teachers again, then teach towards that end. But if we say that we need to strive towards higher standards because these are the standards that our children deserve, then they're going to work towards that end. But that starts with sound leadership at the political level, and that's what we are going to offer. But we're gonna remove ourselves from thinking that we are the experts of education when we're not educators. We're going to let the experts actually design and manifest the overall system. But rest assured, it's going to be a massive departure to what we are feeding our children today, which again is something for those who are 45, 50 years old, and you remember how we were educated back in the day, and compare how it is, how our children are being educated today, and we should know better. We should know better. We should be ashamed of ourselves for accepting something that we ourselves wouldn't accept if it was offered to us. Why should our children be offered something that's even of a lesser quality?
Indeed, indeed. Honorable Marc Bean, thank you so much for another conversation, helpful conversation. I guess we'll be seeing you again soon because the work doesn't stop, right?
No, it's not going to stop. But we are very happy to be the first of the political parties to present an educational policy. We could engage in tit for tat on many of the issues of the day, but we'll prefer to focus on communicating, and by communicating our vision, that vision is going to be seen tangibly with the policies that we're going to promote. Understand that you have people in the community that are going to fight against what we're saying because they have their own self-interest for whatever reason to see the FDM not be successful, or they don't want to see your own children successful. Because don't think everyone has the same altruistic motive that we want everything to be successful, but that's not the case in this country. You have some people with attitudes that are quite happy to say that as long as my private school is successful, then I'm happy. But you curse about what's happening to the public school. Just cut schools so I could save my money. Now, we reject that. There are other ways in which we could cut costs. But cutting our children's education and the way they think and act, and then complain about the antisocial behavior, it's hypocrisy, and we reject it wholeheartedly. We, again, look at education from the perspective that the cup is half full and not half empty. You have to lead with optimism and vision and not pessimism and negativity.
Indeed. Thank you so much, sir. We'll definitely be in touch. And thank you during your travels for making time for us on such short notice to engage our audience. We'll be in touch.
Thank you. Blessed to everyone. Have a good day.
You as well. The Honorable Marc Bean, folks, if you appreciated that conversation, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share that conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. I believe he said the meetings are on Monday, and we can get clarification, Suzanne Ingham. I believe he said Monday evenings. But thank you. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take a break. Be back in 55 seconds. Wrap it up. But we've got that daily play for you as well. I want to see if anyone gets this daily play. Think Africa.
Take a look at our workwear for construction workers and tradesmen. Durable, stretchable in all the right places, and plenty of options for tools and accessories. Paired with our wide range of tough and comfortable footwear, you can't go wrong. As you can see, Medical House really is a one-stop shop for everybody. We can't wait to see you.
See it all at our new expanded location on Bakery Lane.
All right, audience, welcome back. Thanks again. If you appreciate today's conversation, give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Thanks again to the Honorable Marc Bean. Thanks again to the BAC group of companies, Medical House, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we can do this with you on a daily basis. It is time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia. Bermuda Trivia, the game show. You can catch it on bcgtv.com. First 2 episodes up right now, and the game is actually available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. All right, audience, it's a name that place today. Very easy. What is the capital of Ethiopia? Yes, Jamaica, you got it. You got it. Jamaica, you entered the draw. It is Addis Ababa. You got it. Congratulations to Jamaica. Jamaica, we will add you. So you join. Man, we've got somebody every day. We've got Suzanne, Mark, and Stacy for tomorrow's draw. Addis Ababa is the capital of Ethiopia. So Jamaica showed up first. Unfortunately, Renee Simmons and Mark Arthur C. Phillips. But wrap it up today. Look, I just want people to remain conscious, I guess is the word, and awake and aware. To watch PLP supporters celebrate the government reducing the tax, the energy tax, to give people a break after Balco did what they did. It's called hero syndrome. You break something, and then you go and fix it, and then you expect people to reward you with something and stroke your ego. What's that saying that the white liberal used to say? Stay woke. I think that applies here. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. As far as the conversation with the Honorable Marc Bean, look, I do think that most people in politics want to do right by the people. I do. I just think most of them don't do right by the people. I think initially they have great plans. I think an education policy is a great idea. I think it's a foundation of showing that this is important to you and how we believe it can help everything. The Honorable Marc Bean kept mentioning social problems that we have. It's a correlation with education. I'm encouraged by it, but I hope that the other political parties will take heed. I think that we, as a community, understand the importance of a strong education system. To have that, we need to allow the experts to do what they do. One of the things that stood out also with the conversation is stop dismissing things just because they happened years ago. Not all things that happened in the previous education system are bad, and not all things that happen today are bad. Find the good in all in what we previously did and what we do now, and work our way forward. But what we can't do is sit still. What we can't do is move forward without a clear plan on how we're going to improve Bermuda, because the only way Bermuda is going to improve is with an educated people. It's time for the daily inspiration, and that is, quote, "He who is brave is free. He who is brave is free," end quote. And that is from Lucius Seneca. All right. Folks, please don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, Medical Lindos, and People's Pharmacy, for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. I'm Jamal Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. I am is out. Peace.